Hey, welcome to the Unshakable Edge, the podcast for those who refuse to settle. I'm your host, Joe Warren, and if you're ready to master discipline, strengthen your mindset, and gain the edge in every area of your life, this is your home. Each episode delivers powerful insights on resilience, growth, and success, helping you take control of your life, take action, and build an unshakable life. Let's dive into this week's episode and sharpen your edge today. She stood in the parking lot, clutching the letter in her hand. It had been folded and unfolded so many times that the edges were actually fraying. Her dream school had actually accepted her, given her a full ride, but she never sent a reply. Why? Because her dad had just lost his job. Her little brother needed help with school, and she told herself the same excuse many of us whisper when life feels complicated. Now is just not the right time. That one sentence buried her dream for years. 15 years later, Lucy is working a job she hates, scrolling social media, watching someone else live the life she had used to picture living. And she wonders, what if I had just said yes anyway? Today, we're going to dismantle one of the most seductive excuses out there. It's just not the right time. You may be thinking you're waiting on clarity or peace or some magical window to align, but truthfully, most people aren't waiting on the right time. They're waiting on permission. So why do we convince ourselves that waiting is wise? Let me tell you, it's not because you don't care. It's not because you're lazy. It's just because we've been conditioned to believe that success is about perfect timing, that the stars have to align just right, that you need to feel ready. But here is the truth. Most people don't miss their moment because of the lack of talent. They miss it because they're waiting on a moment that never comes. We delay because we fear starting messy. We wait to launch when everything is organized, when our schedule's clear, when the finances are solid, and when we feel inspired. But can I challenge that? Life doesn't hand out ideal conditions. You don't stumble into alignment. You create it by moving forward in the chaos. Listen, God doesn't wait for you to be ready. He calls you when you're still in the mess. One wise person said it this way: whoever waits for perfect weather will never plant a seed. And whoever looks to the clouds won't harvest. In other words, if you're waiting for the perfect, you'll be waiting forever. Think about the people who have actually changed the world. They didn't just start when it was easy. They started when it was necessary. They made the right time. So let's talk about the real reason this excuse feels so convincing. It's not because it's true. It's because it sounds responsible. When you say it's not the right time, you give yourself permission to delay without guilt. It feels wise, it feels mature, but really it's just procrastination in a better outfit. Psychologists call this the temporal discounting. It means we value immediate comfort over future rewards. So even if something is important, we put it off because it's not urgent right now. And we love to tell ourselves, I'll start when things settle down. Next month will be better. After summer, after the holidays, after this season. But spoiler alert, there's always another season. And that delay becomes a lifestyle. Can I explain it this way? If you wait for the right time, you will still be waiting this time next year. The right time is an illusion. You don't find it, you create it by deciding. Let me tell you a story about someone who didn't wait for the perfect time. She didn't wait for experience. She didn't wait for permission. Her name? Sara Blakely, the woman behind Spanx, a $1 billion brand that reshaped the fashion industry. But before Spanx, she was making about $40,000 a year selling fax machines door to door. Not exactly glamorous. Believe me, I've tried it. I've tried selling vacuum cleaners door to door. Not very glamorous, didn't work out quite well. No connections, no fashion background, and Sarah had no investors. Just a personal frustration, panty lines under white pants. So one day in 1998, she grabbed a pair of pantyhose and cut the feet off in her bathroom. That little experiment really sparked a revolution. Now, here's where most people would stop. She didn't know how to start a business. She'd never written a patent. She had no funding. But Sarah didn't wait. She decided to use $5,000 of her own savings, worked nights and weekends to create a prototype, and wrote her own patent on a budget. Sarah cold called manufacturers, and most of them, they laughed her off. They didn't get it. They didn't believe in it until finally one factory owner, when she's talking, the daughter overhears and tells her dad, "You've got to give her a shot. She is onto something." And that changed everything. Sarah hand produced her first units. She packaged them herself. She even walked into Neiman Marcus, asked the buyer for 5 minutes, and ended up doing a product demo in the store restroom. That bold move landed her a deal, not just with Neiman Marcus, but eventually with Bloomingdale's and Saks and many other stores. Then in 2000, Oprah named Spanx one of her favorite things, and things exploded. Within 2 years, Sarah had hit 10 million in sales. By 2012, she became the youngest self-made billionaire in the US, according to Forbes magazine. Not because she had it all together, but because she refused to wait for the perfect timing. Sarah did not let the excuse, "now is not the right time," to detain her. And listen, neither should you. You don't need more time, you need more courage. So let me ask you, what have you been putting off because it doesn't feel like the right time? What could your life look like if you started today? Not after the holidays, not next quarter, but now. Because the difference between a buried dream and a fulfilled one is often the choice to start before you're ready. So let me give you 3 steps, just 3 practical steps to take to overcome the excuse that it's not the right time. The first one is simply this: do it scared. Mel Robbins said it this way: start before you're ready. Don't prepare, begin. You don't need to feel brave, you just need to move. Courage doesn't show up before the decision, it meets you in the action. And clarity comes from movement, not thinking. So stop overanalyzing. Do it anywhere, do it shaking, do it scared. The second step is simply this: set a small, immediate step. In other words, you don't have to launch the business, just buy the domain name. You don't have to write a whole book, just open a blank document and write 100 words. You don't need perfection, but you do need progress. Because momentum doesn't come from huge leaps, it comes from small starts with big commitment. And the last step is this: don't ask, "What will it cost me if I try?" Ask this instead: what will it cost me if I keep making the excuse? We're so good at imagining the risks of action, but rarely do we calculate the price of inaction. That excuse, it's not the right time, feels so safe in the moment. But listen, over time, it's incredibly expensive. So flip the question. Instead of asking, what if it doesn't work? Ask, what if I stay stuck here 5 more years? What opportunities will you miss? What part of you will shrink? What life will go unlived all because of an excuse that felt responsible in the short term, but will cost you in the long term? Make the cost of waiting heavier than the fear of starting. Because here's the truth. Excuses feel safe now, but they steal from your future. Well, that's it for this episode of The Unshakable Edge. If this resonated with you, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, share a comment, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. And remember, stay focused, stay disciplined, and keep sharpening your edge.